When the Intergalactic Council announced the first-ever pet exchange program between Earth and the Zylar Dominion, the internet exploded. Earthlings cooed over pictures of Zylari cuddle-bugs, adorable, fuzzy creatures that emitted calming pheromones. Zylari, in turn, gushed over our hamsters, intrigued by their tiny size and squeaky noises. Surely this would be the most wholesome exchange in the universe's history. The day of the exchange finally arrived. Karen, a middle-aged woman with a heart full of maternal instincts, eagerly awaited the arrival of her new cuddle-bug. Across the galaxy, on the planet Zylar Prime, a Zylari scientist named Zylar stroked the soft fur of his new hamster in anticipation. He'd done extensive research and was ready to offer the creature the most luxurious habitat. Things took a turn almost immediately. "Sweet mother of Neptune!" Karen shrieked as the carrier door opened, revealing not a cuddly ball of fur, but a towering 6-foot-tall beast covered in shaggy brown fur. At approximately the same time, Zylar leapt back with a startled hiss. His hamster, now released from the carrier, began frantically shaking and spraying a fine mist into the air. This wasn't just some hamster. It was a tribble, the universe's most prolific breeders. Back on Earth, Karen struggled to barricade herself in her bedroom as her new pet methodically chewed through all available furniture. Reports of similar incidents poured into the bewildered Intergalactic Council, both from Earth and the Zylar Dominion. Earthlings were dealing with cuddle-bugs that shed mind-altering spores, while the Zylari fought an unending war against a plague of hyperbreeding tribbles. The Council scrambled for containment protocols as pandemonium descended upon two formerly peaceful star systems. Teams across Earth tried desperately to round up the massive hamsters, their size and surprising speed proving to be an unforeseen complication. Meanwhile, on Zylar Prime, hazmat-suited scientists carefully collected the fuzzy culprits behind the spore pandemic. They discovered that the calming cuddle-bugs were, in fact, parasites, feeding off the mental energy of those infected by their spores. The infected Zylari, increasingly docile and content, saw no problem at all. This left the uninfected Zylari minority with a serious mess to clean up. News of the galactic chaos became a viral sensation. Memes featuring horrified humans cornered by overgrown hamsters and blissed-out Zylari scientists swept the internet. Yet, amidst the absurdity, a sense of camaraderie began to blossom. Earthling engineers and Zylari biologists collaborated to create makeshift tribble containment units and reverse engineer the cuddle-bug's parasitic mental effect. It was the definition of trial and error, often with hilarious consequences. Karen found herself video conferencing with a bleary-eyed Zylar from Zylar Prime, both of them frantically comparing notes on their respective creature conundrums. "We should have named them trouble-bugs," Karen groaned into the screen. Zylar let out a weary, rattling chirp, Zylari equivalent to a chuckle. Perhaps the translation for tribble does not fully encompass its potential for multiplication. With time, the chaos began to subside. Specially designed habitats managed to, mostly, contain the fuzzy behemoths. Armed with spore neutralizers, scientists finally pacified the Zylar population. Yet, just when they thought order was restored, a new wave of trouble arose. The tribbles, confined and bored, began to show signs of advanced intelligence. They organized themselves, stacking themselves into pyramid formations and sending out rudimentary Morse code signals via squeaks. Back on Earth, the enormous hamsters discovered the joys of hoarding. Sock drawers were ransacked, pantries were emptied overnight, and car engines became filled to the brim with acorns and lint. The Intergalactic Council groaned in unison. Forget an exchange. This was a full-blown hostage negotiation. Earth demanded the return of the tribbles. and the Zylari wanted their parasitic cuddle-bugs back to restore their population's missing drive and ambition. A tense intergalactic standoff ensued. Pundits on Zylar Prime analysed the Tribble's strategic sock bunkering, while Earthling Talk shows debated whether the hamsters would invent their own currency next. Then, in a stroke of luck, or universal irony, a breakthrough emerged. During a routine cleanup on Earth, an exasperated janitor found himself locked in a storage room with a particularly crafty hamster. Bored and annoyed, the janitor began ranting about his life, finding a surprisingly attentive audience in the giant furball. The creature seemed to calm down, even rearranging its acorn hoard into what looked suspiciously like a bar graph. Word of this incident spread like wildfire. A task force of psychologists and animal behaviorists descended upon the astonished janitor, and a series of hastily arranged venting sessions began. Turns out the massive hamsters weren't just hoarders, they were also fantastic listeners. Suddenly, Earth had an army of furry therapists on hand. Meanwhile, on Zylar Prime, a young scientist made a startling discovery. Spores from the cuddle-bugs, when filtered and adjusted to a lower frequency, had an astonishing effect. They didn't create docile zombies, but rather a deep sense of calm and focus. The solution was almost too comically perfect. Earth would keep the hamsters, using them as a unique form of mental health support. Their natural hoarding instincts would be channeled into helping people declutter their spaces, leading to a tidier society as a bonus. In exchange, Zylar Prime would receive a controlled supply of the cuddle-bug spores. Zylari workers could now work with heightened focus without losing their motivation or critical thinking. The Great Intergalactic Pet Swap Debacle, as it became known, went down in history as both a cautionary tale and a surprisingly beneficial mess. It solidified an unlikely bond between Earth and the Zylar Dominion, proving that even when the universe throws you overgrown hamsters and parasitic fluff balls, there's always room for a little adaptation and a whole lot of laughter. Of course, complete interspecies harmony still proved elusive. The occasional Tribble managed to escape containment, resulting in citywide sock hunts. Meanwhile, Zylar Prime reported a few incidents of over-organized pantries and a strange increase in perfectly aligned paperclip collections. Karen, now affectionately referred to as the Hamster Whisperer, found herself training a new generation of interspecies therapists. She still grumbled about chew marks in her baseboards and sighed dramatically when presented with yet another hoard of mismatched earrings. But the bond she shared with her 6-foot furry companion was undeniable. Exila, despite an unfortunate incident where a stray spore caused him to meticulously alphabetize his spice rack, became an ardent defender of the spore filtering project. Focused and efficient Zylari workers were now also remarkably good at finding stray socks and organizing sock drawers, a skill the Earthlings greatly appreciated. News feeds still included the occasional light-hearted jab about the Great Swap, but it was tinged with fondness instead of panic. Schools on both planets taught about the incident, not only as a lesson in cross-cultural misunderstandings, but in the potential to find solutions in the most unlikely places. The galaxy had learned the hard way. Sometimes the cutest things come with the most unexpected consequences. And sometimes those consequences turn out to be a giant, furry therapist and the occasional alphabetized spice rack.